back to a Family Food Supply. We are here this fine Christmas Eve morning and we are inventorying beef. It was supposed to show up a few weeks ago, got delayed, and came here a few days ago, and this is the first day we've been able to get to it. So what do you do on Christmas Eve morning? Inventory beef, of course. We ordered a whole beef that ended up weighing in with a hanging weight of 529 pounds. Now, this is supposed to be half all ground beef and half following our cut sheet. Just by the looks of it, I don't think that's what happened, but we're gonna go through it and find out. Be sure to stick around at the end. We're gonna show you how we organize this in our freezer. We've got a 20 cubic foot freezer that's dedicated to just beef, and we're going to show you how we put it in there. The way that we're gonna get started is I'm gonna take out all of the roasts and put those in a pile. The ground beef's gonna go in a pile, the steaks are gonna go in a pile, and then our bones and organs are gonna go in another pile. All right, we've got everything sorted by type, all of our roasts down here, organs, steaks and such here. We have only 3 boxes of ground beef, which is very disappointing because we should have had like 7. I was really expecting to put a half of a beef worth of ground beef in our freezer, and that's definitely not here. But let's measure what we got. What we're gonna do is for each type of cut, we're gonna count how many there are and we're gonna weigh them. Okay, so we have everything weighed out. I'm gonna go punch some numbers into Excel to kind of see exactly where we're at so we can share that with you. And we're gonna start putting this back in the freezer. And the way that we're gonna set up our freezer is we're gonna put steaks on the top, ground beef on the bottom, and all of the roasts in the middle. All of the organ meats, which we do have quite a bit already in the door, but the organ meats are gonna go in the door as well. I think that's about it. All right, so this is the fun part when you've got all the numbers tallied in and we can answer that burning question of buying a whole beef or not. Is it worth it? We had a hanging weight of 529 pounds. Our cost per pound is $4.85 when you buy the entire beef. The subtotal then is $2,565.65. There's a $20 delivery fee, and when you pay cash, you get a 5% discount. So our total for all of the beef is $2,456.37. After weighing everything out, just looking at the cuts, so I'm gonna ignore the organs and the bones. So just looking at the cuts, we had 431.4 pounds. That means that 97.6 pounds was lost in processing, which gives us an 82% yield, which brings us to a total cost per pound of $5.95, which with that 5% cash discount drops down to $5.69 per pound. If we had just gotten a half instead of a whole, we'd be paying $5 per pound hanging weight, and if you compare that to what we get in the freezer with an 82% yield, it'd put us at $5.87 per pound of meat in the freezer. It's really hard to justify the actual answer to this question of buying whole beef versus buying meat from the store. If all that you eat is ground beef and steaks, then you might just be better off getting it from the store. I'm not sure. But if you're going to consume all parts of the meat, you do have options on your cut sheet. You can request a lot of the items to be turned into ground beef. You are probably better off getting the whole cow, because let's just look at the ground beef numbers, okay? We're looking at a $5.69 per pound of meat. Now, this also doesn't take into account any of the bones or the organs. That's like a bonus that we get for free to us. And we got 76 pounds of bones and organs. 44.4 of those were bones, so that's gonna make some really good beef broth. If you look at the cost of beef broth alone, I think it's a really good deal. Our rancher also sells ground beef by the pound. To get the ground beef by the pound, it's $6 per pound. So if you just want ground beef, it might even make more sense just to go with the half of a cow, whole cow. So you're getting that $5.69 to $5.87 per pound price as opposed to the $6 per pound. Now let's compare that to some other numbers. You can get organic ground beef from Costco for $5.44 per pound. However, that is not grass-fed from what I understand. It just says organic ground beef, and I don't even know what the percentage fat content is. I looked at the price from Sprouts. You can get an 85% grass-fed beef from Sprouts for $6.99, a 93% grass-fed beef from Sprouts for $8.99. We're pretty certain that our grass-fed ground beef is probably about 95% lean. It's really lean and delicious if you know how to use it. It's a transition. If you're used to buying like 85% ground beef from the store, definitely a transition. You can also always add fat back into your ground beef. To get an organic grass-fed beef from Sprouts that's 93%, that's going to be $9.49 per pound. Then I also looked at natural grocers. 85% Thousand Hills grass-fed beef is $8.39 per pound. And then 92% Thousand Hills grass-fed beef from natural grocers is $11.09 per pound. Now, I also went to Azure's website. The best price that you're going to get is on the Thousand Hills. They do have 3 other types of ground beef in there that are a little bit more expensive. The 85% Thousand Hills, and this is if you're buying the larger quantity, so you get that bulk discount, is $8.36. And then the 92% Thousand Hills on sale right now. I actually didn't even look at the rate, like the main price, but that one's on sale right now, and it comes out to be $10.18 per pound. So when you consider how much ground beef we go through, it's a lot. Only having 3 boxes is going to be a problem. I would say we go through about a box a month. And so that's why I was really hoping for that 7 boxes to get us 6 months. So when you look at the fact that we go through about a box of ground beef per month, which is 48 pounds, it totally makes sense to do it this way, because when you're talking $3, $4, $5 more per pound, especially if we're looking for that lean ground beef, then it just doesn't compare. I mean, you're paying close to double. I didn't even add on the shipping costs for Azure. I'm happy with the fact that we buy our beef in bulk. I think we will continue to do so. Let's get this beef put away in the freezer. Okay, so we put 1 full box of the ground beef at the bottom, and the 2 extra 48-pound boxes went in the other freezer so that we can try and keep some organization over here. You want to bring that box of steaks? Okay. They're just going to go right here. And we do have some steaks and such left over from the last beef, so these are just going to go on top. Okay, so our New York strips are going to be over here on this right-hand side, so I'm going to throw these 3 extras on top. And we did just do an inventory of these, so I'm going to be able to just add my 2 inventories together so that I know exactly what we have. If you are working with smaller portions of things, these baskets that are frozen together work really well for like steaks or stew meat or things like that. Make them easy to organize in smaller spaces if you don't want to have to use the big beef boxes that you get. When I'm stacking roasts, I try and kind of put pot roast in one section, and then we'll go with all of the chuck is up here. We'll go a section of rump and then some other stuff. So we've got our Pikes Peak roast. I'm going to put these over on the right. I've got my top round going in the middle. And then I'm going to take my rump roasts and just kind of throw them in here as well. Some in the front. Whoa, careful, Zayden.
I tasted more on this batch.
Yeah? Now we've got our brisket and short ribs, which I am thinking are going to come up here.
Dad, I tasted more.
Good job, buddy.
So this is the problem, is that there's not enough room. Okay, so up here on this top shelf, we have our top sirloin and our sirloin tip. And then we've got our New York and then our filet over here on the side to the right of the box. In this box, we have our skirt steak in this first column. Then we have our short ribs in the middle, along with some extra short ribs from our last beef. And then we have our flank steak and tri-tip on the right-hand side. I can make some labels to go right on here so that it's really easy to know where things are. Got a tongue over here that did not fit with the ottoman door, which is okay. Down here we have all of our chuck roasts. To the right over here, we have our two tri-tip roasts. There's the tri-tip steaks up here and the tri-tip roast down here. And then down here, we have all of our brisket. We've got our Pike's Peak roast, our rump roast, our top round, our pot roast, and at the very bottom, we have our ground beef. Now, it's not everything. It did not all fit, at least not in an organized manner that I was hoping for. So let's head over to the other freezer and I'll show you what else we got. Okay, so I've been looking for a used freezer on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace for the last over a year and have not been able to find anything under $500 for our ideal goal is in that 20 cubic foot range because we do have some smaller freezers and it kind of feels like a waste of space because we have so many of them. So anyway, we were able to grab this baby for $100 the day before our beef came, and oh my goodness, Jesus is amazing because we thought we had enough room in that freezer over there, and had we not had this, we would have been, I don't know, putting stuff in coolers or going out and buying a freezer somewhere. So my goal is to not use this for beef. We've got a lot of processing that we're going to need to do, meaning we're going to be making some beef broth, we're going to be making some beef stew, we're going to just be canning some meat in general to try and get some of it out of the freezer because our goal is to use this for veggies, fruit, and freezer meals. For now, we have this row here that is all beef bones, and then we've got our 2 extra boxes of ground beef, which I'm thinking having 2 extra boxes of ground beef in here is totally okay. Might even want to go with a third just to have that supply of extra ground beef. And then we've got those 2 giant rib roasts up here. I felt okay putting them over here. I'm thinking maybe a turkey is gonna go up here or something and we'll use this for like our, I don't know, big giant roast meal. And then we also have some beef stew meat and the beef shanks that are gonna be in the door here. Again, the stew meat, we're gonna get through that as quick as possible by pressure canning it, either in beef stew or just plain beef. I think that's it. I hope that our freezer organization ideas are helpful when it comes to you getting your beef, and that if you haven't gotten a beef yet, that you give it a try because it's definitely worth it.